Excellent. So I don't know if you can hear me, but I'd love it if you send Casey. Casey, I don't know if you could sort of slide over in front of the camera for 10 seconds and just show the image. That's Casey, the TA, and her whole goal is to make sure all of this runs smoothly, and she tells me what's happening remotely. So I'm going to pick share screen. Let me know if you don't see it. Can everyone see welcome to QM222, making decisions with data, PowerPoint? Oh, you can't. Oh.
Yes, we can.
All right, until IT shows up and figures out or tells me how I'm supposed to get it onto the big screen. So what I'd like to say, I'd like to just do three things today. Really simple, and then we'll really start the class on Friday. So first I want to go around and do a brief introduction. For those of you watching on Zoom, I'm sorry, please feel free to call in during Zoom office hours or anytime and talk and get an introduction that way. So we'll do a brief introduction just so the people here. It's really easy, like what's your name? Okay, you're not like, oh my God, what's your name? We're gonna give the key lesson of today's lecture. I'm gonna show you some cards. No card tricks involved. And then we'll go over this a little bit more, and hopefully that'll bring us to about 1:10. So pretty straightforward. We'll just go around the room. I'll go first. Casey will go second, and then I don't know. Would you like to go third? Should I help me out? Great. How many of you have ever met someone famous? One person. Who do you meet?
Oscar from The Office.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Bernard King.
Oh, yeah. When did you retire? Like 10 years ago, 15? A while ago. Wow. Big guy. Big guy.
The soccer player, Lionel Messi.
Whoa. Like one of the most highly paid players in the world. Yeah. He earns probably more in 1 second on the field than I'll ever earn in my lifetime. What else?
Danny DeVito. You know Danny DeVito?
Yeah. Is he really as short as he looks?
Yeah, he is. And round.
Yeah.
I met Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. No, not bad, not bad. Anyway, so for those of you who haven't met someone famous, I'm going to tell you that in about 5 minutes you start tweeting people and things like that. So my name is David Gorski, and you have met the real Jay-Z. You were taking a class with Jay-Z. So you look at his birth certificate, all right? And what does it say on his birth certificate? Sean Carter. You look at my birth certificate, Jay-Z. So my guess is you looked at that and said, wow, this guy is a really famous guy. You know, the name is cool. I don't know. It's actually not the first time. He lived between the J line and Z line on the subway system in New York. So he was like the guy between the J and the Z. So we'll move him to the J and Z. Anyways, can any of you hear any of that? Or am I just talking in the wrong direction?
I think they were muffled, but I tried to change the mic. So I changed it from the gray one to this one. But it doesn't seem like it's working. But I asked IT to come. So hopefully they come soon. Yeah, they're saying that they still can't hear.
Still can't hear. No, I don't see a microphone here to talk into. This is a job mic. Yeah, I think we should connect. All right, let's try connecting the mic. Hello? So, Hello, is that any better? No? Yes? Is it still muffled?
Right now, it seems better.
Someone say it's a little better.
Okay, someone said it's a little better. Okay, well, we'll go for little. Little's good. All right, we won't expect perfection right now. All right, so 4 quick questions. What's your name? My name's Jay-Z. Where am I from? My family and I, we've been here at Boston University forever. My grandfather came here to the business school. I have an uncle. My father's brother came here to the business school. My mother, she didn't get a degree from the business school. She got a degree from a different school. My mother's sister, my aunt. So, and I have 2 degrees from Boston University. So I hope all of you like Boston University as much as we do. I've been teaching here a long time. My very first class was 1987, which means that there is a chance that one of you are like, oh, my mother or father had you. So last year in QM222, someone raised their hand and said, oh, my mother says to say hello. Right? So that was my first time, and I felt really, really old. Really old when the student was like, oh, you taught mom. Okay. So how do you rate your math and Excel skills, weak, average, or power user? Well, you don't get to be a professor teaching in QM222 unless you have power user skills. So my whole goal is to get you up to power user skills by the end of the semester, so you look at me and go, he's not as good as I think he was at the beginning of the semester. I'm better. All right? So my goal is to ensure you're better. Why? Whether you like me or you don't like me, whether you like the course or not, most people are in business schools to get a really good paying job. And one of the key skills to getting a good paying job right now is quantitative skills. You walk in an interview and somebody says, blah, 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 blah. I got an email, a thank you email from a couple of students this summer, and it really did my heart good. One of them was like, I went to a very famous iBank, investment bank, in Midtown Manhattan, and they sent me through the whole process. And the very last interview, whether they were going to decide to hire me or not, 3rd round, the guy said, well, tell me about one of the courses at BU. And he just talked about this course, QM222. And at the end, the guy said, you're hired. And I was like, wow, not bad. Okay, so my goal is to get you those kind of jobs. Personally, I don't know people in investment banking in Midtown Manhattan, so I can't make you the personal connections. But once you get the job interview yourself, that you have something to say, oh, I am an Excel pro. I am a statistical maven. I can handle all these kind of things. So tell us 1 or 2 interesting things about you. I spend a lot of time bicycling when I'm not teaching. And 2 summers ago, I bicycled across the country. I started in Seattle, ended up in Washington, D.C. No electric assist, no gas, nothing, just pure pedal power. Sunday was my latest ride. I went to Rhode Island. Now, Rhode Island was a 14-day quarantine according to BU rules, so I got 10 feet within the border. I was close enough to the phone to take a picture of welcome to Rhode Island. I stayed on the Massachusetts side, took a picture, turned around and bike and went home. All right, so I did not go to Rhode Island. I did not breathe Rhode Island there. I still drive pure Massachusetts there. So I spend a lot of time bicycling around. So Casey, well, what's your name?
Yeah. They can see me over here.
Oh, they can see you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Casey. I'm the teammate this year.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Where am I from? I'm from Long Island, New York, so not too far. I would rate my Excel skills a power because of QM222 last semester. And 1 or 2 interesting things about me. I would say like one thing that's kind of basic, but I sell clothes on Poshmark. So like I go to thrift stores and then I buy clothes, or if I have like a lot of old clothes or my family has old clothes that like are still good enough to sell.
Cool.
Hi everyone, my name is Luke. I'm from a town right outside of Boston called Wakefield. I'd say my math skills are pretty average, and I'd say my Excel skills are maybe a little bit above average because I've been doing some financial modeling practice over the summer. And an interesting thing about myself is my twin doesn't.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh. I'm from Bedford, New York. I have to go with average for both, and play hockey on the club team here.
Welcome, Josh.
Is it me?
Sure.
My My name's Cameron. I'm from outside of LA. I'm probably average at math and weak at Excel. And an interesting thing about me is I'm also a twin.
Wow, 2 twins. Does your twin go to BU?
Nope.
Okay. Makes it easier.
Sure.
My name's Emmy. I'm from Quincy, Mass.
For those of you who can't hear, that's Emmy from Quincy, Mass. Sorry.
My math and Excel skills is average, and I like to go hiking.
Hiking. So Emmy likes to go hiking.
Me. My name's Jared. I'm also from Long Island, New York.
Jared from Long Island, New York.
I'd probably say my math and Excel skills are probably average, and I'm into sports, particularly soccer.
Plays a lot of soccer. Sorry, I did this at 10:10 this morning, and people were like, we can't hear, so I got to repeat everything. How about the lady in the back?
My name is Kira. I'm from New Jersey.
Kira from New Jersey.
My math, Excel skills are average, and I'm a tour guide here.
Oh, a tour guide. Walks backwards.
I'm Xavier. I'm from Texas.
Xavier from Texas.
I guess both of my math and Excel skills, I think weak. And then I don't really have any interesting.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Stefan. I am from Cambridge, Mass. I would rate my math and Excel skills as average. And an interesting fact is that I've lived in like 3 or 4 cities throughout my life. So yeah.
Has lived in 3 or 4 cities throughout his life. Thank you.
My name is Sebastian.
Sebastian.
I'm from Miami, Florida.
Miami.
I would rate my math as average and my Excel skills as weak. And I used to compete in physics for like 5 years.
Whoa. Jiu-jitsu. Stay away from.
My name is Anya. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I'd say my math is average, but my Excel is probably pretty weak. And I really like to cook and bake, which I did a lot during class.
That was Anya, who likes to cook and bake.
My name's John. I'm from Miami.
Another one. Wow. John from Miami. 2 from Miami.
Yeah. I'd say my math skills are like average and my Excel skills are pretty weak. So I get to like really do Excel. And I like to go hiking and camping.
Likes to go hiking and camping.
My name's Adam. I'm from San Diego, California.
Adam from San Diego.
I'd give my math skills probably average, but my Excel skills weak. One interesting thing, I kind of forgot about the other question, but I met Yao Ming, which was pretty interesting.
Wow. Big guy. Last but not least.
I'm DJ from Guangzhou, China, and I rate both average and interesting. I mean, stuck in Boston is still coming.
Wow. That's pretty interesting. Stuck in Boston this whole summer. Me too. Okay. So hopefully they heard that. Can we do anything better before IT shows up? Okay. So what's this course all about? This course continues QM 221, and the idea of QM 221 is you're supposed to get a background, an analytical background in quantitative methods and statistics. Now, in the old days, when I used to teach this course a long time ago, we spent a lot of time doing statistics. But we don't do statistics anymore. Why not? Because everybody has a laptop. So for example, we'll talk about the standard deviation. In the old days, what old days means when I was sitting in the same chair as you was, well, not in the executive dining room, but whatever, okay? When I was an undergraduate, we used to sit there with paper and pencil and calculate standard deviation by hand. Today, who needs it? You just open up Excel, you type equal STDEV, and you just do the calculations. Pretty straightforward. So we're not going to do a lot of statistics. We're not going to do a lot of formulas. The whole goal is, how do you handle data so that you can take a massive amount of information, make sense of it, and then explain it to everybody else? And that's really the key here. Can you explain it to everybody else? And then once you explain it, can you use that data to make better decisions? So one of the most important lessons is this demonstration. So what I'd love everybody on Zoom to be able to do is to either find a piece of paper or open up like Microsoft Word or Excel or anything you can write on, or your phone or something like that. I'm going to show you some cards. do not write things down until I show you all the cards. So in my hand, there's 15 cards, okay? And I'm going to show you 15 cards and ask you to remember as many as possible, okay? And there's a reason for this. I'll tell you the reason in a couple of minutes after we do the exercise. Then I'll say, stop. And after we stop, you get a chance to write down as many as you want. Feel free to stick fingers in the ears after 5 or 6 cards you don't want to remember anymore. Your brain's feeling like it's overflowing. All right? So, questions. I'm going to show you a card. After I show you a card here. This is just a pretend, okay? I'm going to show you something like King of Hearts. And your job is to remember King of Hearts and then the next card and the next card. Order is not important. Questions? Any questions from Zoom?
No.
Should we remember both king and heart?
Yeah, so King of Hearts is a card. So it's suit and whatever the value is. Okay. It's perfectly okay to have like 2 or 3. There was a student this morning at 10:10. I only got 3, or 2. I actually had a student who was an executive. I teach some of the executive courses here also, and she got 1. She had just come in on a red eye, okay? And she had just flown in from California. She hadn't slept in like a day and a half, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I lost it." So there's no shame in anything, all right? Questions? Questions from Zoom? Ready for the first card? Normally I have students shuffle them, but not in COVID. 10 of diamonds. Can you? 10 of diamonds. I'm supposed to say 6 feet away from you. So. Eight of clubs. Six of spades. 6 of spades. Jack of diamonds. Jack of diamonds. 7 of clubs. Three of diamonds. 9 of hearts. 9 of hearts. Queen of spades. Queen. Queen of spades. 4 of diamonds. 9 of diamonds. Queen of diamonds. Eight of diamonds. Five of clubs. Last 2. King of hearts. Last 2. King of hearts. Jack of clubs. Okay, so I give you a moment to write down as many cards as you can remember. So Casey, can you see Excel or do I need to shift the sharing? Okay. Can people see an Excel spreadsheet? Okay. So we're going to do a quick test for those of you online. Can you raise your blue hand? Just everybody raise their blue hand. So 10, 11, 12. I don't know, can you see the numbers? How many people raised their hand? No, I just see a counter. I see 26. Thank you very much. Can you put the blue hand down? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. You here in person, if I say, how many of you got 4 cards right? Not you get more than 4. How many of you got exactly 4 cards right? Just raise your hand, and then we'll look here on Zoom and see how many people raised their blue hand. And we'll let Excel calculate the mean and the standard deviation. Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, how many of you got 1 card right? So please raise your hand on Zoom. So we got 1 person who got 1 card. How about 2 cards right? So we got 1 person on Zoom. 3 cards right. 3 people raised their hand on Zoom. 4 cards right. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 cards right. 2 people in class and 7 there. Oh, 8. So that's 10. 6 cards right. 6 cards right. 1 person in class and 5 people online. It's 6. 7 cards right. 1 person in class and 7 online. That's 8. 8 cards right. 1, 2, 2 people in class and 9 raise their hands. That's 11. 9 cards right. 1 person in class and 7 raised. 8. 9. 10 cards right. 2 in class. 4 people. So that's 6. 11 cards right. 2. 12 cards right. 3. 13 cards right. 2. 14 cards right. So 3 people raised their hand. Oh, 1 person raised their hand. 15. Perfect. A card shark out there. No card shark, 0. So what you can see on the board in the top in the yellow is 7.37. We'll just call that 7. And we'll see the standard deviation is 2.46. We'll round 2. Let me jump back to sharing the PowerPoint. So the result, the mean is 7, and standard deviation is about 2. The key idea is 7 plus or minus 2. What's 7 plus or minus 2? Audiences can only remember between 5 and 9, or between 5 and 9 facts. You work for some company. Your boss gives you a project. You go off and spend 6 months doing this project. At the end of 6 months, there's a big presentation. The bosses, there. The CEO's there. The CFO's there. This is your moment to shine. You now have 6 months worth of information you want to give them. And you give them 50 pieces of information. How many things can they remember? Most people, between 5 and 9. You go beyond 9, it all becomes a blur, a total blur. How many of you are taking accounting with Greg Saban? Right. So Greg used to work at Ford, and he tells a great story. One of his first jobs at Ford was every morning they had a meeting, so he got in there early at 4 a.m. to put up all the slides, all the graphs that they were going to talk about at the meeting. And the manager wanted to make sure everything was covered. So Greg had to make 64 graphs every single morning and post them on the walls of this conference room. Do you think almost anybody walking into that conference had any idea about 64 or could remember 64 totally different pieces of information about a factory? New boss came in, old boss left. New boss looked around and said, Greg, what are you doing? He says, I put up 64 graphs. I get here at 4 in the morning. He says, hang on a second. No one can comprehend 64. Let's do, and he picked 8. And they actually had meetings, and the meetings were far more productive because they talked about 8 things which people can keep in their head. The key idea is don't overwhelm your audience with information. Give them only a few things so they'll remember it instead of an overwhelming tsunami, an overwhelming flood of data. Because if you give them a flood of data, they're like, what just happened? And they start thinking about other things like, what's for lunch? What's the key number? The key range is between 5 and 9, 7 plus or minus 2. So what I'd love to discuss, and here I'm going to ask those of you on Zoom to send in little chat things, and Casey, I'll sort of point to Casey and she'll tell me what your name is and what you suggested. The question is, how do you go beyond 7 plus or minus 2? How do you get to like 10 things? How do you get to 12 things? How do you get people to remember 15 things? And not just for a short moment in time, but a long moment, like a couple of weeks or months. How do you do that? Any ideas? Because I don't know if you've watched TV, there are people who can like memorize decks of cards, like 10 decks of cards, and someone just shows them 10 decks of cards, they're like, oh, and they can repeat it back. And it's not faked. How do you get that CFO to remember 10 things?
Tarkin says repetition.
One thing is repetition. Say it over and over again. So I'll say 7 plus or minus 2 like 5 times in this lecture. Okay, repetition is great. Thank you, Target.
I just like group similar things together, like for the cards, like dot.
Group similar things together. Sorry, I don't know if I can hear you. So by grouping things together, things are, so it would have been easier for you to remember if I showed you all the hearts first. If I sorted it, then all the spades, then all the diamonds or something like that, and you'd remember one piece of information, diamond, and then you'd remember a couple of numbers. Hearts, and then a couple of numbers. So that would have made things easier. Anybody else? Up?
Mason and Adams both say tell a story.
Tell a story. It's going to be real important. When we do the syllabus in a few minutes, we're going to talk about the project. In the project, tell a story so that people can remember the numbers.
Malia says associate with pictures and acronyms.
Graphing is really important because people can remember visually things, graphs, much more than they can remember numbers and tables. If I give you a whole bunch of numbers, it's much harder to remember than if I show you a whole bunch of pictures. So by showing you cards, a lot of people are like, oh, that's easier than if I just asked you to memorize random things. Numbers, let me talk to you about cell phones or other phone numbers. How many digits are most phone numbers in the United States? 10 digits. If I, Jay-Z, lose my cell phone, I can't call people. I think I know one number, my wife's. I'm being serious. My mother and father are still alive. I have no idea how to call them without picking on the cell phone very aggressively, right? And I call them probably every day. You don't have to admit it, but how many of you, if you lost your phone, are like, oh no, it's not the phone, it's all the information on the phone, like all those phone numbers of people, because I have no idea how to call them any other way. Yeah, 10-digit numbers. Almost not impossible, but very, very hard for us to remember. Zoom. I messed up my own Zoom link, right? I sent you 2 emails, right? Because I'm supposed to remember what? Zoom, 10-digit number. Could I do it? I obviously failed yesterday, right? Any other ways?
Emily says we do it based on the forgetting curve.
Review it based on forgetting curve. I'm not sure what that means, Emily, but it sounds good. Okay. So I'm going to ask, I have one more minute on this section before we jump to the syllabus. Let me tell you the second important thing with 7 plus or minus 2. The older and higher level audience you're looking at, the less they remember. When I teach executives, and I do the same, well, let me just ask you the question. I teach executives, I teach MBAs, and I teach undergrads. Who do you think does best on these games? Anybody, feel free. Undergrads do best. And why are you number 1? Because you're smarter, right? You're better looking. Because they're younger. Because you're younger. CEO walks in the room. And with an undergrad audience, I can tell you like 9 things. A group of CEOs, I tell like 3. Why? There's 2 choices. A, CEOs are just dumb. All right? You have to be dumb to be promoted to be a CEO. I'll tell you that's not the correct answer. Okay? Many of the CEOs I've met are very smart. The problem is they've got so many other things going on in their head that they're thinking about and worrying about that there's sort of like less capacity in there to assimilate new information. So when your 3-level boss comes in, don't go for 9 things. Go for 7 or 6, maybe even 5. Go on the lower side. Because the higher people are and the older they are, the less they tend to remember. Cool? So if I were to tell you the 2 numbers from this lecture today, the 2 numbers are? 2 numbers are, anybody? 7 plus or minus 2. Okay. That was the most important bit. Now what I want to talk about is just real briefly the syllabus. We have 10 minutes to talk about the syllabus, and I'm happy to chat online. So this number 477, oh my God, I have to remember a 10-digit number. 1270719, is that our Zoom address? That is the Zoom address for this class and for B1. So if you happen to be like, oh, I'm taking remote, then I'm going to take the B1 class, it's the same address. My office hours, same address. Okay? Everything associated with Jay Zagorski, is that 477 number. Until we get Zoom bombed and someone takes it over. Okay. It's relatively easy to reach Casey. Her email address is right there. Okay. And hopefully by tonight we can post office hours for the TAs as well as myself, which are basically before this class on Wednesdays and before this class on Fridays. And by the way, it's a pandemic. I'm not going anywhere. So you want to Zoom at 10 o'clock at night? Send me a question. You send me an email. All right. You want to Zoom at 6 in the morning? I'm around for many, many time zones. Not every time zone for those of you watching, but for many. So it doesn't have to be just before class. 2 books you'll need. Both are free. Both are available on the All Sections website. There should be a little button that says textbook up on the corner. Click on it. The PDF file. You don't have to pay any money. It's yours. Congratulations. All right. One of the cheapest classes around. And there's readings. If you go to resources so there's 2 websites, All Sections and then our B&D. If you go to B&D under resources, the very top pick is the readings for each week. So it's key dates and readings. Some of you went there and it was the spring semester around 11 o'clock at night, I updated it. This is a Excel course. I can't make you into Excel power users without you bringing laptops, so feel free to bring a laptop all the time. Laptops, if you're not using them to do things like check your Twitter feed or your TikTok feed or things like that, but instead of working through the class, are very useful. And for those of you who are remote, I fully expect you to be on your laptop. To do Excel, you need the most recent version of Excel, and the most recent version of Excel is available for free to all undergraduates who are registered. That's all of you. And if you click on that link right there, you'll get the most recent version of Excel. If you're pretty close to the most recent version, it'll still work. Just if you have a really old version of Excel, you should upgrade. But for example, if you have 2019 version instead of 2020 or instead of 365, you're doing fine. Course components and grades. So people really want to know, how do I get an A in this class? Getting an A in this class, 25% of the course is the midterm. 35%, a little over 1/3, is the final exam. And then there's two group projects, Project Part A and Project Part B. In Project Part A and B, we're going to use the same data set. It's a real-world data set. There's thousands of people who are randomly selected from the United States, and they provided information freely on their own lives. And because the data set's massive, the data set has almost 13,000 people and about 65,000 variables. This summer, I went through the database and I cut it down so it's a little more manageable for undergraduates' first projects. There's about 4,500 people that you're going to look at, and you're only going to have to look at about 12 variables. Okay? But basically, you can talk about in some job interview, oh yeah, I did some big data work, right? Because you did some real-world big data work. Pretty straightforward. Project Part A is going to be summary statistics, descriptive statistics like means, medians, standard deviations, and graphing. Project Part B adds on regressions. What's regressions? We're going to actually be able to fit lines and be able to tell very specific things, like if you get another degree, like you finish with a bachelor's and then you get a master's, how much extra will you earn? You'll be able to precisely measure things like that. Problem sets, we'll talk about that in the next slide. And then there's the undergraduate research project. How many of you took QM 221? All right, so QM 221 is the same, it has the same undergraduate research obligation. You were in the red and socks. So the same kind of teams, red and socks this semester. They're done on Zoom. It's relatively easy to just sign up. They ask for between 45 minutes and an hour. My experience in the past is these things tend to take about 10 minutes. I don't know, what was your experience? Was it long? Was it arduous? Okay. Say again?
I took you over the summer and you didn't do it that semester.
No, they shut the lab down because of COVID. So. Okay. Problem sets. There are 8 problem sets. 2 problem sets will show up this weekend. They're pretty straightforward. They're going to test your Excel skills. All problem sets show up online in the All Sections website. So there'll be a number of videos to improve your Excel skills. That's what I spent my COVID-19 summer doing, creating videos for QM222, short videos that cover lots of topics. So you can do 2 of these Excel quizzes anytime between now and the midterm. And then there's going to be 6 problem sets that deal with topics in the textbook. So there's really sort of 2 courses going on here. There's the textbook, and then there's learning Excel. So that you can become both statistical mavens and Excel geniuses.
Are we going to be using Excel with the exams?
I'd like to. The problem is I'm the coordinator for all 369 of you, but there's 4 other professors I have to convince. So I'm not sure they're interested, but I will find out. Right now, I was spending a lot of time trying to get this whole thing up before I started thinking about the midterm. I'd love it, but I don't know. I don't know what my odds are yet. So Project Part B, the whole idea in Project Part A, clear written communication is important. What's that mean? Don't overload me with information. You're working on a team of, say, 4 or 5 people, and everybody's like, oh, I need 10 points. Well, 5 people times 10 points each, 50 points, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, what just happened? Problem sets. Class participation. So class participation is pretty simple. It's a little weird this semester, But if you happen to be here, pretty straightforward. If you're online live, Casey and I have a record of who's here, at least I hope we do. If you're watching this video taped, like 5 hours from now or 6 hours, depending what time zone you're in, just send Casey or the other TA, Rithvik, you know, I watched it tonight, you know, please give me class participation, class attendance. Participation, my goal is at the very end of the semester, I pin up all your pictures without the masks on, you know, from your VU ID shots. And I go, do I know this person? Did they contribute? If the answer is yes, great. You get a decent class participation and class contribution grade this semester. Okay? It's a little different this semester than in past. Basically, did I learn something from you, or did your fellow classmates learn something from you? If the answer is yes, you did fine on class participation and contribution. Cheating, don't. There's different versions of the test. We'll catch it. URO, just talked about that. So what did we do today? I have exactly 30 seconds left. We did a little self-introduction for those of you who are here. For those who aren't here, I'm happy to chat with you on Zoom. I'd love to get to know you. We talked about the most important thing. 2 numbers, 7, that's it, 7 plus or minus 2. And we went over the syllabus. And what are we going to do next time? On Friday, we're going to talk about Target, the big department store. Okay. So I look forward to seeing you all on Friday, or either virtually or not, in person, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of tech just worked out. All sections website, left side button says textbook. Thank you very much on Zoom for listening.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.